you for having us here at Avid.
It's a pleasure.
What a great place to be. We're in the upstairs gallery here at the moment. You've got three spaces here. Maybe you could introduce all three of them. It's this space that people might not ever get up the stairs to, but...
Yeah. Well, first of all, apologies for being a ring-in, because Judith, who owns the gallery, my wife, has just had a hip replacement, so she's out of action for a while, so I'm filling in for her. But yeah, no, Avid has three spaces. It's been here in Wellington in the same place in Victoria Street, 48 Victoria Street, since 1992.
Wow, that's a really great record for dealer galleries that come and go sometimes.
Well, that makes it one of the longest standing galleries, in New Zealand, which is fantastic.
Yes.
There have been only 3 sets of owners during that time, and I think the first 2 sets of owners had the gallery for about 10 years, and Judith bought it about close to 7 years ago. So it's a lot of stability. And over that time, a lot of the artists that we have today have been with the gallery over those various changes of ownership. So a very stable team of, very senior, some of the finest artists in the country have been here for quite a long period of time.
Indeed, and we'll be talking a little bit about glass a little bit later.
Yeah, got a great show on at the moment.
What's distinctive about Avid, of course, is that it deals in what some people call the applied arts, so when you sort of fine art objects and jewellery.
Yeah.
And you're really the only gallery that does that, I think, quite specifically in Wellington. You're part of a bit of a national fine art network in that regard.
Yeah, but probably, we're probably the gallery in New Zealand that has the finest balance between object art and jewellery art. So we started talking before about the number of spaces in the gallery, and there are 3. We have a separate exclusive jewellery area downstairs. We have a large gallery space that's downstairs as well. We're in the upstairs space at the moment, which is quite large.
Yes.
So the large spaces downstairs and upstairs we use for our object art. So there's always a very good selection of glass art, ceramic, stone, sculpture in those 2 areas. And in the jewellery section, some of the country's top jewellers, people like Kobe Bozard and Peter Mackay and Anne Cooley, Francis Starkle.
Jane Dodd, looking at your
Jane Dodd, a fabulous axe, a very special birthday present for me this year, and I haven't taken it off since, so we're very lucky.
I would like to ask you about the way that you display jewellery down there, because it's a particularly challenging media to display, I would have thought. A lot of glass cases.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's interesting, I think, about our jewellery area, about New Zealand jewellery generally, is that the making practices are so varied between different artists.
Yes.
And all of it, I'd say without exception, all of the jewellery artists that we have at Avid have very distinctive, quite unique styles. So we do put name tags next to their work, but if you're familiar with a particular artist, you could probably wander around and recognise their work from the style of the work itself.
Yes.
It's one of the joys, I think, of having a browse, is that it's a very eclectic range of work practice from the more traditional high quality craftsmanship and right through to some of the more out there art jewellery forms.
Oh, great. At the moment, the focus, you have an exhibition program. It's always changing, like the other dealer galleries here. At the moment, you've got a group glass exhibition. It's a distinctive media. It doesn't get a lot of representation across the sort of contemporary art dealers that are wider, but it's it's got a strong tradition here in New
popular,
Zealand.
and it's very popular. And New Zealand has a very strong international reputation for its glass art too. So where there have been international competitions for glass art, and what comes to mind is the Ranamok competition, which was a trans-Tasman best glass artist in Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand has produced a number of winners of that, including artists that we have with us at the moment, like Emma Camden and David Murray.
Yes.
And the work of the artists we have in this gallery is represented in some of the top collections around the world.
Well, I know that's the case with Claudia and Layla, who I was speaking to today. These are people with strong international reputations, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the best glass collections in the world, people like Claudia and Layla and the other artists here are represented there.
So Elton John, I saw they both have on their CVs. Does he just kind of wander into Avid?
Well, he's unfortunately not.
People hoovering up the stuff.
Unfortunately not, because we could maybe do a duet, perhaps. I know most of the words, but no. He obviously travels the world, and one of the advantages of being a touring artist like Elton is that you can take part in the arts from whichever part of the world you're in. So I know he's got a very strong collection of art from Australia, good glass art from Australia in particular, but a lot of New Zealand glass artists in his collection as well, and he has commissioned work specifically to fill gaps in his collection.
Well, may he pop in again when the COVID thing has calmed down a little bit, so he can finally get on the yellow brick road again.
Yeah, it would be great. That would be great.
Thank you very much for joining us.
That's an absolute pleasure. Enjoy your visit.
Glass is not just one media, and I know you both work in two different ways. I wondered if you could start by actually maybe explaining the difference between the type of glass work that you make. Claudia.
Oh, me first?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. I always describe myself as an artist, much like a cross between a lead light artist and a ceramicist. So,
a lead light artist?
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm working with imported coloured sheet glass,
right,
and then cutting that into patterns, and then using heat in a kiln to melt that together, and then using ceramic moulds to form the flat glass into three-dimensional forms.
What do you like about doing that?
Oh, I don't know, there's just something very alchemist about being able to melt things.
You have amazing patterns. How do you get the patterns on your work?
So this pattern, the motifs are resist blasted into the glass, and that involves generating a computer image onto a silicon-based resist that is applied to the glass in its flat stage.
Right.
And then it's sandblasted across the whole mask to basically remove areas of the iridescent glass that you don't want in the image. So everything that's protected by the silicon mask remains.
Right.
Which in this particular work over here is the cloud formations.
Wow.
So
this show is quite diverse in terms of the sort of work. We've got Crystal Chain Gang chandelier behind us. Layla, you're in cast glass. Could you explain what the cast glass method is? Because that's quite different, isn't it?
It's very different, and it's chemically different as well. The glass material itself is chemically different. I'm working with a 45% lead crystal. It's very soft. It flows into the mould very easily and well. It was developed here in New Zealand, actually, for Anne Robinson, who sort of pioneered this technique. I worked for Anne for about 15 years, after studying at Unitec, and lost wax casting is the method that I use. And actually these works now don't use lost wax, but they use the refractory mould technology that Anne Robinson developed, but I'm now making the mould in several parts so that I can access the core of the mould and get pattern onto the core. So these are test pieces for a change of direction, which I'm really excited about.
Now you two have known each other for quite a while, I understand. In fact, Whanganui is known for glass in New Zealand, and I think that's where you are now. And you guys met there when you first came to New Zealand from Australia, am I right?
I was invited to teach a summer school, 5-day summer school, I think in the year 2000.
Wow, 20 years.
Yeah, so after that I was invited to teach full time, so I worked at the Polytech, which is now UCOL, well, it's not the UCOL glass department, it's been absorbed by the New Zealand Glassworks and subcontracted out to UCOL. And but I've since probably 2005 had my own business, which was then incorporated into a company in 2007.
Okay. And I guess, Layla, I'm interested in the kind of community of glass artists here and how strong it is compared to you, but you both show internationally. Is there a strong culture here in New Zealand? Is there a good sense of community amongst you all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's been going since before the 70s in terms of studio glass movement, with Anne Robinson, Gary Nash, John Croucher, Peter Wiesnack, Peter Rouse. many people, Tony Kupfler, there's also the Hoagland's glass blowers that
Yes.
many people will have seen in
Yes,
Nelson.
yes.
They have an open studio there. And then, there's more and more that keep coming through. There's a lot of night school graduates
Right.
as opposed to university or polytechnic graduates. So the newer people tend to be actually older people who have come in from other jobs and come in through night schools.
Right.
So it's quite it's a different demographic in New Zealand compared to other countries where they have really highly functioning tertiary institutions, because we
Yes.
don't have any
We've lost a
existing
lot,
glass
haven't we?
programs
We've lost
left.
a lot, yeah.
So, but
yeah.
Wanganui, as Claudia was saying, all the UCOL equipment got absorbed into NZ Glassworks, which
Right.
is run by Wanganui Council,
Yes.
Scott Redding, and so that's, glass is still happening. There's a lot of glass still happening in New Zealand. It's just happening in a different way, and the people coming into it are coming from a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Claudia, just to finish off, I'm kind of interested in a gallery like Avid and why it's important. I mean, clearly it's selling work, it's an income base for you, but is it more than that?
I love these people.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the people.
They do all
It's
the hard work.
yeah.
Like to actually to present the work at this level to the clients that they have is a profession in itself. And for an artist to try and do all aspects of what's required in terms of making and creating the work and then documenting the work and then marketing is it's almost like three different jobs
Yeah, right.
to do. And sometimes it's best that an artist does what they do best and let the marketers and the gallery people do what they do best. And
And Avid's been here for so long. It's and it's gone through several owners in that time, since 20 or more years that I've been showing here.
It's remarkable that it's carried on through several changes of ownership. That's unusual.
And the feeling
Yes.
remains, that welcome and that astute sense of aesthetic, and I love this gallery. It's fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, that's what
Judith
we're here
and
for.
Peter and
Curators of
Grant.
Wellington. Thank you for joining us both.
thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Welcome.